The studio buzzed with electric anticipation, 1,000 eyes fixed on the stage where Karoline Leavitt stood, her silhouette sharp against the blinding lights of Jimmy Kimmel Live. At 29, she was a paradox, a small-town teacher turned national advocate for education reform, her voice both gentle and unyielding. Tonight, her first major TV appearance, the weight of her mission pressed against her chest. She adjusted her glasses, her fingers trembling not from fear but from a fire she'd carried for years. As the applause swelled, Karoline whispered to herself, "This is for them," unaware that this moment would ripple far beyond the studio walls. Jimmy Kimmel bounded onto the set, his grin wide, his energy a practice storm. Karoline Leavitt, folks. From classrooms to the big leagues, welcome. The crowd cheered, a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Karoline's advocacy had stirred debate, her calls for equitable education splitting opinions in a polarized nation. She sat, her navy dress modest but striking, her hazel eyes scanning the audience for a spark of understanding. Jimmy wasted no time. "So, Karoline, you're here to fix America's schools. Big job. Got any dirt on the system to spice things up?" His wink drew laughs, but Karoline's smile was steady, her mind elsewhere. She'd prepared for this, the late-night dance of humor and deflection. But Karoline hadn't come to play the game. She'd come to honor a promise, one born in a crumbling school library where she'd met a student named Javier. "Actually, Jimmy," she said, her voice clear as a bell, "I'm not here to talk about dirt. I'm here to talk about hope." The audience leaned in, sensing a shift. Jimmy's grin flickered, his rhythm disrupted. Karoline pressed on, her words painting Javier's world, a 16-year-old in South Los Angeles, brilliant but trapped in an underfunded school, his dreams of engineering dimmed by a system that saw him as a statistic. "Javier stayed after class one day," Karoline said, her voice softening. "He showed me a notebook, pages of sketches for solar panels he wanted to design. But his school had no science lab, no counselor to guide him to scholarships. He was giving up." The studio grew quiet, the weight of her words settling over the crowd. Jimmy shifted, his fingers tapping the desk. "That's tough," he said, "but let's lighten it up. Got any funny teacher stories?" The audience chuckled, but their eyes stayed on Karoline, who didn't waver. She reached into her pocket, pulling out a folded piece of paper. "This is Javier's sketch," she said, holding it up, its pencil lines faint but intricate. "I kept it to remind me why I fight." Her voice trembled, not with weakness but with conviction. "I found a mentor for Javier, a retired engineer who saw his potential. He's now on a scholarship path to Caltech." The crowd erupted, clapping, some standing. Jimmy tried to steer back. "That's great, Karoline. Let's talk about," but she cut in, her voice rising. "There's more." The first twist came like a thunderclap. "Javier's here," Karoline said, pointing to the audience. A lanky teenager in a borrowed blazer stood, his grin shy but proud, waving as tears glistened in his eyes. The crowd roared, caught in the raw beauty of the moment. Jimmy's jaw slackened, his script useless. Karoline wasn't done. "And he's not alone," she said. 5 more teens stood, Javier's classmates, each holding a sketch, a poem, a dream they'd been told was impossible. "These kids," Karoline said, "they're why I'm here. Not for me, but for them." The audience was a sea of emotion, some sobbing, others cheering. Jimmy, scrambling, said, "Wow, this is unexpected. Let's get them up here." The teens joined Karoline on stage, their faces alight with possibility. But the second twist was brewing. Karoline turned to the camera, her gaze piercing. "This isn't just about Javier or these kids. It's about millions like them, invisible to a system that prioritizes headlines over hearts." She pulled out a small card. "I've started a fund, Every Dream Matters. It's for kids like these, to give them mentors, resources, a chance." The crowd was on its feet, but Jimmy, sensing the show slipping, tried to pivot. Karoline, this is amazing, but let's do something fun, how about a quiz? His laugh was hollow, the audience unmoved. That's when Karoline made her choice. Jimmy, she said, her voice calm but resolute, this isn't a game. These kids' futures aren't a segment. She unclipped her microphone, her hands steady. I came to share their story, not to play a role. I'm done. She turned to the teens, her smile warm. Let's go keep fighting. With that, she led them off stage, their heads high, the audience's applause a deafening wave. Jimmy sat stunned, the cameras rolling as producers whispered frantically. The teens' faces, Javier's proud grin, a girl named Aisha clutching her poem. Burned into the nation's memory. The clip exploded online, not as a scandal, but as a beacon. Hashtag Every Dream Matters trended worldwide, donations flooding Karoline's fund. Strangers shared stories of their own struggles, their own dreams, inspired by a teacher who'd chosen truth over spotlight. Months later, Karoline sat in a community center, watching Javier present his solar panel design to a local tech firm. The other teens were thriving, Aisha's poetry published, another boy, Malik, accepted to a coding bootcamp. Javier hugged Karoline, whispering, "You didn't just save me. You showed me I could save others." She smiled, tears falling, knowing this was the real stage, not a studio, but a world where one act of courage could light countless paths. Across America, people watched the clip again, not for drama but for hope. They volunteered, donated, listened to the kids in their own towns. Karoline's walk-off wasn't a rebellion. It was a revelation, proof that kindness, selflessness, could outshine any spotlight. And in that light, a nation began to dream bigger, together. Moral of the story: true change begins with a single act of selfless courage, which can inspire others to see, support, and uplift those whose dreams are overlooked. This moral encapsulates Karoline's choice to prioritize the stories of Javier and his classmates over the entertainment of the talk show, showing how one person's compassion can spark a movement of kindness and opportunity. It resonates with the story's heartwarming and uplifting message, encouraging readers to act with empathy and purpose in their own communities.